Flying cars are coming to Florida, and a lot sooner than you think. Rand Paul visits Fort Knox, and guess what? The gold is mostly there. Been wondering about that. And finally, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Oh, a great example of that coming up. Good morning, Marilyn. Great to have you along. Hello there. Happy, what is today? I forgot the day of the week. It's Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. My God, it's the 11th of August already. Dang. Unbelievable. Wow. All right, we're getting through it. We're almost halfway there. What else we got? Flying cars. That's our big thing today, this morning. DeSantis has announced that flying cars are coming to Florida and a lot sooner than anybody expected. For decades now, people have asked the same half joking, half serious question. When and where are we going to get these flying cars we were all promised? The Jetsons, after all, with George, his boy Elroy, daughter Judy, and Jane, his wife. Well, they debuted the concept of flying cars in 1962. 1962. Do you know how long ago that? 72, 82, 92, 1002, 12, 22. 60 plus years ago. Some of the technology featured in that cartoon has become a reality. Video chats, robots doing basic chores like vacuuming and mowing. The flying car, however, has remained elusive, to say the least. And that, surprisingly, is about to come to an end. Yesterday, Governor DeSantis in Florida gave the closest thing to an answer yet that the aforementioned question, announcing Florida going to begin actively testing electric flying cars known as EVTOLs, 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 by the end of this year, less than 6 months away. He says, I can't promise we'll ever be able to take you to the future, to the past, with a nod to the Back to the Future movie franchise. But I think we're going to be able to get you up in the air some point. Some point what? Some point in the not too distant future. Here's DeSantis.
So right here behind me is that Jaguar is a Waymo, and Waymo's involved in Florida now. That where Mason's sitting is so Waymo is kind of comes out of the Google people. Cybercab comes out of Tesla. So if you go in there, you just sit. You have a screen, it'll take you. There's no steering wheel, no pedal, no anything like that. Clearly, these things could potentially be very beneficial, but safety is important, and that's why we have SunTracks here. They got to pass these safety tests. You don't want to be in an autonomous vehicle and it drives you into a ditch. That would not be good. I can tell you the technology has been pretty good, and I think the success has been pretty good, particularly on kind of the normal routes. But we are actively doing this. This gives these companies a controlled environment to be able to test this stuff, and we're the only high-speed autonomous vehicle test track in the United States. And obviously, these vehicles will be tested at interstate speeds. And if they don't pass it, then they're not going to be roadworthy. So we can simulate dry and raining conditions, crowded urban environments, pedestrian crossings, hills and dips, and other conditions that autonomous systems will encounter when they are operating in our community. We're proud to be working with the companies developing this technology, Tesla, Waymo, Beep, and providing the infrastructure they need to test and advance autonomous transportation here in Florida. So,
all right. Did you see that? Let me go back to that wide shot where they pulled out wide. Where is that? There we go. Look at this. See that thing? That apparently is the flying car there on the left. How cool is that? Huh. The EVTOL stands for Electric Vehicle Takeoff and Landing. Standing at this testing facility, framed the moment, DeSantis framed that moment as a long running sci fi dream, which is now an actual state project, complete with vertiports already built, aircraft preparing to lift off with no runways. And he announced on social media that the Sunshine State would begin actively testing that aircraft by the end of this year. Ongoing tests of autonomous ground vehicles, the Waymo Jaguar, the Tesla Cybercab. Unbelievable. The Department of Transportation Secretary in Florida, Jared Perdue, explained the significance of what the state is pursuing in regards to flying vehicles. He said, when is the last time we as a civilization got to usher in a new way to move people? He asked, we've improved the automobile with autonomy, and now we are entering the age of flying cars. They are compact electronic aircraft, take off and land vertically, just like a helicopter, but no runways needed, and then transition into forward flight. They are designed to be like a quiet air taxi and can carry a few passengers over short to medium distances, offering a potential alternative to ground traffic in congested areas. And this is a promotional video that they actually put up there for these flying cars. I haven't seen
Building
this.
Central Florida, set your eyes to the skies. That's because these airborne taxis are not too far in the distant future. Central Florida is the prime test space for air taxis due to our congested highways like I-4. But before Orlando enters the Jetsons era, Fox 35's Matt Trezza gives us a closer look.
How would you like this to get you to and from the office? Governor Ron DeSantis says it could happen sooner than we think.
This will be the nation's first advanced air mobility test track, and it will have dedicated airspace, driving innovative research and development for this new technology. And, you know, I saw it. I was in it. I think it can transport. You have a pilot. You could transport, I think, what, like 4 or 5 people?
The test track is going in at SunTrack's FDOT's testing facility in Polk County. They say this will be the nation's first ever AAM aerial test bed and dedicated airspace, driving research and development for this emerging technology. Professor Bob Thomas teaches aeronautical science at Embry-Riddle, which has also been researching air mobility vehicles.
I think it's exciting to be able to have a spot here in Florida where some testing can be done to see how these could integrate into the airspace system.
Advanced air mobility vehicles, or AAMs, take many forms. They mostly look like small helicopters or large drones. They're battery powered and typically carry 1 or more people short distances between landing hubs called vertiports.
Wow. How cool is that? You know, whether they're going to ease the congestion on the highways or just be an impressive proof of concept, either way, Florida is screaming fast. A lot faster than most states to turn sci-fi into something tangible, something we can actually use. I would love to see these little dress-o-matic things that get you fully dressed and ready for work in the morning, or maybe throw back on your pajamas when it's time for Betty Bye. But hey, flying cars are pretty cool too. I think that is cool as hell. And in Florida, what a great idea. What an absolutely cool idea. All right. Hey, Danny, welcome in. Good morning. She says 3 kids at school and just a toddler with me all day. Oh, happy school days. God bless the children, teachers, and bus drivers. May God keep the schools safe and protect them every day. Absolutely. Great to have you here. Good morning, Danny. All right. Well, here we go. Massachusetts. I told you this story. I told you it was sitting on the governor's desk. I did not, however, anticipate that this would be what happened. It winds up, it's just one big cult of death. Massachusetts has legalized abortion up to birth. Didn't liberals tell us back in 2022 that the Supreme Court overturning of Roe versus Wade would be an absolute disaster for the pro-abortion crowd? Didn't they say that? It would crush the freedom of women all over the country. Well, the reality is the hysterical leftists did not tell you that it handed down the matter to the states, and abortion was not suddenly made illegal. States can tighten the restrictions or ease them as each individual state sees fit. And now one electric blue enclave, otherwise known as Massachusetts, has pretty much taken it to the limit. Take it any further, and it would be first-degree murder. And frankly, it already is, in my opinion. The state of Massachusetts and their slimeball governor signed a bill yesterday that would let what Democrats call birthing people terminate pregnancies right up until the moment the babies are born. Sorry, that's murder. Then and only then, once they pop out of the birth canal, suddenly what? Their lives are worth saving? There are, and unbelievably, there are 9 other states, including D.C., Alaska, Colorado, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Vermont, in achieving this dubious success of removing gestational age limits, which is a fancy way of just confusing the issue. Governor Maura Healey on Monday signed legislation to make it easier for women to receive an abortion later in their pregnancies, making Massachusetts laws among the country's broadest and handing the governor a legislative win as she wages her re-election bid. The now law, which lawmakers sent to Healey's desk the final hours of the last scheduled formal session last month, reshapes the rules for how women can terminate their pregnancies at 24 weeks or later. State law used to allow abortion at the stage only under specific circumstances, including to preserve a patient's life. That new law, this new one, leaves the decision to end a pregnancy entirely up to the, quote, professional judgment of a physician. This is absolutely demonic. Mass governor officially signed the law allowing abortion up to the point of birth, with liberals cheering. The previous law, of course, as we said, only allowed up to 24 weeks in limited circumstances. Notice Governor Healey didn't use the word that Democrats used to love to throw around, rare. No longer that seems to be much of a priority. Said, we believe that healthcare decisions should be made between women and their families and their doctors, not politicians. Healey said at the bill signing ceremony, abortion will remain safe, legal, and remain accessible here in Massachusetts. The Bay State already allowed abortions to proceed up to 24 weeks. Now they can stretch it all the way past the time when the babies are obviously completely 100% viable outside of the womb. The abortion crowd has simply become a culture of death. Bottom line, what the Boston Globe newspaper called a legislative win just means more babies, will never breathe or taste life. God help them. Unbelievable. Danny says that's sick, absolutely sick. I already feel this baby and I know what she likes and what'll make her kick. I saw her sucking her whole hand and yawning. There is an entire person in there. Indeed, there is. God bless you. Massachusetts. Man, that is a rough one. And in a kind of related story, I just didn't think things could get worse with Fauci. And guess what? It does. What they found on Fauci's phone should absolutely scare the shit out of every pregnant woman who took the COVID shot. Newly released text messages, listen close, pulled from Fauci's government phone, so they're public, shining a very harsh light on the shocking gap between what top health officials discussed privately and what they told the public. No surprise here. Senator Johnson, Rand Paul released one message chain they believed could have an immediate impact on public health. In it, the former National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease Director discusses about COVID-19 mRNA vaccines for pregnant women with former CDC Director Rachel Walensky and former Surgeon General Vivek Murthy. January 25th to 26th, 2021 exchange. This is between Fauci and these people. Little chat group going on his phone. Fauci himself notes the second dose of the COVID vaccine, quote, theoretically could be associated with miscarriage in the first trimester, end quote, because of the strong fever and cytokine response it often triggers. Yet, in the months and the years that followed, this scum of the earth Fauci and other federal officials repeatedly insisted that the shots were safe for pregnant women. Do you remember that? I do, and I'm sure it would take me all of about 20 seconds to find a clip of it. And yet, privately in their little chat group, they were concerned. Over 1 week later, Fauci appears on the JAMA network to talk about concerns of the unproven vaccine regarding pregnant women and children. He said, the FDA has found thus far, and we've got to be careful, but thus far, no red flags about pregnant women. Theoretically could be associated with a miscarriage. Sounds like a red flag, and a pretty goddamn significant one at that. But you know what? I'm not the science like you are, Dr. Death. Fauci, in an interview with What to Expect in August of that year, more definitive in his insistence the vaccine was safe for pregnant women. He said, well, are the vaccines safe? Tens and tens and tens of thousands of women who've been followed by the CDC were vaccinated when they were pregnant. There's no indication whatsoever there's any increase of any adverse issues in a pregnant woman who was vaccinated compared to a pregnant woman who wasn't vaccinated. And he goes on with the bullshit. It's pretty clear pregnant women should get vaccinated, while downplaying the pregnancy risks by suggesting, quote, we all know that there's always a risk of a spontaneous miscarriage, end quote. Imagine that you see your family doctor after they prescribed a medication that caused you to get sick. And you note that the doctor had insisted there was no risk of getting sick from that prescription. Now imagine you find out that privately your doctor told others in his office he was concerned because the medicine theoretically could be associated with the illness that you eventually wound up with. How would that make you feel? Because that's exactly what's going on here. Would you ever trust that doctor again? Ever? Johnson appeared in the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton show to discuss this bombshell secret text gleaned from Fauci's cell phone. He explained despite Fauci's initial concerns, the New England Journal of Medicine had published a grossly misleading paper by a former deputy director for Immunization Safety Office in the CDC, which analyzed confirmed pregnancies and concluded a miscarriage rate of 12.6%. That number, he said, is about 4 times the normal rate for a normal pregnancy. Shocking, right? Well, guess what? It gets worse. Here's what they did that was so grossly misleading. 700 of those women got their injection in the 3rd trimester. A miscarriage defined as anything up to 20 weeks, so the relevant denominator, about 104 miscarriages divided by 127, puts the miscarriage rate at 82%. 82%. So Fauci knew about potential cytokine storms impacting the 1st trimester in miscarriage, told nobody about it because it would create vaccine hesitancy. Yeah, you think? The phone supposedly holds more than 34,000 text messages, 522 voicemails. Johnson's office said that strangely, only 3 contacts appear in the device's address book. Every other message is tied only to a raw, unnamed phone number. Investigators say it's still too early to know whether there was any data deleted. Unbelievable. And it just keeps getting worse. All right. How about a hot, flavorful, bold, tasty cup of Blackout coffee? Bow, bow, bow. Blackout Coffee, an American company that makes the best coffee on the planet. All kinds of roasts. You pick your roast. If you like, they'll even grind the beans for you. You can also get some of their great flavored coffees. They've got instant, cold brew. They do coffee pods, of course. And just head over to the website. The link is down there in our description. And over there somewhere you'll see description. Just pull that down. You'll see Blackout Coffee. Go to that link. And if you're going to give it a try, which I highly recommend, you get yourself a single bag, pick your favorite roast. If you can't grind the beans, there's options where they will grind them for you. And try it, because I'm sure you'll be back for more. It's just that good. Full-flavored, bold, full-bodied flavor coffee that is never, ever, ever bitter. They roast their beans only after you place your order, and then they ship them out within 24 to 48 hours, which means you've got a fresh roasted bag of beans right at your doorstep, just like that. Blackout Coffee, John Santos and the gang, they work with American farmers and local co-ops to grow these beans, and it is fantastic. It's all we drink in the Sheldon household, and believe me, it's all we ever will, sponsor or not. It's just that good. Thank you, Blackout Coffee. Oh, yeah. One more sip just to keep going. All right. Thanks, Blackout. Appreciate you being here. Danny, AJ's still got it. Started grooving to the song, shoulders moving and everything. Yeah, you know what? I had to replace the music because of a copyright thing with the music they had behind that spot originally. So I thought, because we don't use that in our opening anymore, what a great place to put it. And then AJ enjoy the music. So there you go. I really did. I specifically did that just for you, AJ. I hope you enjoy. All right. You know, I have talked about it before on this show. I don't really care if you want to smoke marijuana. It's not a gateway drug. We've all been gaslit to believe all the horrible things about it. I have smoked marijuana when I was a teenager, not a lot, few times here and there. I told you that one story. I was directing a film, and it put me so bleh one day. We had to cancel the shoot. But anyway, beyond that, I don't care what you want to do as far as marijuana goes. Doesn't matter to me. I don't think it should be illegal. There you go. However, as things progress forward, and now this country's become much, much more lenient in most states about marijuana laws, here's a weird one. Americans, young Americans, are not all right, as marijuana has become the most commonly used drug. What? Yeah. Certainly nothing new. Hippies and counterculture of the 60s, Jeff Spicoli and his buddies falling out of a van full of a cloud of smoke in the Fast Times at Ridgemont High movie. It's been young people, though not exclusively, of course, who have really been the chief indulgers of marijuana. But there is a very sobering new report that shows today's young users are not just out to get a giggly high or devour large quantities of Doritos and Twinkies. In many cases, they are using it for a lot more troubling reasons. Often results in some very serious side effects. Marijuana psychosis is what they're calling it, and it apparently is very much a thing. A high school teacher has said that he's seen a lot of it in his high school graduate class, and majority of them were popular, most attractive kids, and now they are lost and weird. According to a recent study from the CDC, emergency room visits, hospitalizations for younger Americans for marijuana-related incidents are rising. Something called CHS, cannabis hypermesis syndrome, which is cyclical vomiting because of frequent cannabis use. What? From October 2025 through May of this year, it's risen 16%. And that could be a sign that young people are using the drug as more of a way of coping with anxiety, uncertainty. A rather grim CDC report comes after the 2025 report conducted by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service admin that showed about 21.4 million Americans use cannabis daily or almost daily. That uses way outpaces about 19.9 million cigarette smokers and some 17.2 million alcohol consumers. Ouch. 33.7% of marijuana users are between 18 and 25. But it's Gen Z where a whole host of problems comes in. First one, self-medicating. July study shows 34% of Gen Zers said they took some kind of mental health prescription medication, and 19% of them said they self-medicated. Yeesh. What about the physical problems that come with the daily cannabis use? Well, there's been a significant uptick in hospital visits attributed to cannabis consumption. Other side effects are easily predictable. You found that adolescents who've been using cannabis have slower gains in memory, attention, and thinking skills over time. What happens to those same teens as they get older, try to function normally in life? Well, in extreme cases, you get the streets of New York or San Francisco, frankly. And it just comes down to the bottom line. These people who are not using it, they are abusing it, which will happen with almost anything: alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, whatever your pleasure. Not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. Well, guess what? I heard you say what? Rand Paul went to Fort Knox because he wanted to see if the gold was still there. And the report is, it's still there. Following through counts for a lot. I'm telling you, yesterday, Paul announced he was visiting the U.S. Bullion Depository at Fort Knox, Kentucky. Took his X account to make the statement. And do we? Yes, we do. About a minute long. Here is Senator Paul.
Fort Knox, we've come to see the gold. Our country has about 147 million ounces of gold, and about half of it is stored here at Fort Knox. We're going to be going deep underground to see the gold, but more importantly, we're going to be talking today about what happened to our dollar when we separated from gold in 1971. Over 85% of the value of the dollar has been lost since we delinked from gold. So there is a problem. The media now calls this affordability, but what it really is inflation. We run a debt. As the deficit runs up, $2 trillion a year, part of that debt is bought by the Federal Reserve with newly created dollars. This leads to inflation and prices are up. And my goodness, just go to the grocery store, still look at the price of meat. Prices are up 25% in the last 5 years. It's inflation. It's related to deficit spending. It's related to unbalanced budgets. So we're going to look at the gold today, but really what we're talking about is why is our paper currency failing us, and why does our country continue to run such massive debts? I'm going down underground, and I'll let you know what I see in a little bit. Thanks.
All right, there he is, the man himself. In matters like this, first you say it, then you do it, and then you say it again. And that's exactly what Rand Paul did after his visit to the gold. He said there is no accident Congress spends without limit while the Fed prints the difference. He's not wrong about that. At least we have another assurance. He said, yes, the gold is actually there, or at least there is gold in there. There were all kinds of assurances from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, who also verified that, yes, there is gold in the fort. The letter to Treasury Senator Paul sent, which announced his intention to visit the depository. He also said he wanted to see an independent audit done of the gold that was there. Is there really as much as the Treasury says? Is it, as they say, all 3 nines fine? What about the U.S. states' billions stored elsewhere? I'm suspecting it's all there and accounted for. Stealing gold from under the noses of the American government from the very facilities meant to keep it safe probably would be a major task even for a certain James Bond villain, if you know what I mean. But it is our gold, technically speaking. It wouldn't be the worst idea to have somebody go through and tally it up every now and then. I mean, we're all taught to balance our checkbooks periodically. Why shouldn't this country do the same thing? Good question, right? Of course, we would have to balance our personal and our family budgets as well. Washington, not so much. Sooner or later, that is going to come back and bite us squarely on the ass. It's been a concern since Nixon took the U.S. off the gold standards. It's inflationary, but worse, it means our money only serves as a medium of exchange as long as we believe that it does. There's no metal behind it. Nothing solid, just the full faith and credit of the U.S. And that is worth more than the full faith and credit of, say, Zimbabwe. But in the end, it's still just a piece of paper. Fiat currency is going to come and going to go. The gold will always be money. Right now, we're still mining gold, literally digging money out of the ground. Certainly worth doing. Liable to be worth a lot more in the decades to come. What are gold prices at these days? Very high. Let's see, gold price US. Holy crap! As of right now, the price of gold is $4,378 USD. Wow. Is that an ounce? Holy crap. That's a lot of, per ounce. Jeez. I wish I had more gold. That is crazy. Crazy talk. All right. What else we got here? Oh, you heard about the Colombia earthquakes? I say earthquakes because there were two of them. They were horrific, absolutely terrifying. All kinds of building collapses. If you're on X, you saw a whole bunch of different videos. In fact, I've got one saved in my bookmarks. Let me call that up for you. Where is it? This is from Benny Johnson and his report on what happened. Let's just play you a little portion of that report.
Quakes have struck Colombia over the last 24 hours and will change the trajectory of that critical nation forever. As you can see here, buildings, churches, skyscrapers are collapsing into the ground. Look here, the city of Cali, major sports stadiums, millions of people living in it. You can see the dust rising from collapsed buildings way up on the mountaintop as a 7.4 magnitude earthquake has leveled the nation. You can see Colombia is a critical nation here, one of the most important in the world, and here's why.
Wow. Crazy, crazy. Horrific earthquake. Current death toll as of about 20 hours ago with 47, with dozens more injured. This is a big mess, folks. A very, very big mess. Terrifying video of the university hospital in Colombia as it collapses. Can we play? Here we go. My God. And things just really got worse as the day went on. 7.4, and there were two separate incidences. Horrific, horrific. Well, we pray for the folks in folks in Colombia. Sad, sad story. All right, play stupid games. wins stupid prizes as an armed Shake Shack worker robs his own store and then wins the prize. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, this is probably going to be the dumbest thing you've heard so far this week. No, seriously. Listen, according to law enforcement authorities in Arizona, a 33-year-old Shake Shack employee, Keondra Simmons, apparently decided his paycheck just wasn't cutting it. So, allegedly, he tried to take a much more direct approach to employee compensation, give himself a raise, as it were. He apparently entered the location where he worked through a rear door yesterday, armed with a semi-automatic handgun. According to the prosecutors, forced one co-worker into a walk-in cooler at gunpoint and then ordered the manager to open the safe and hand over about $2,800 in cash. It gets worse. I'm sorry, did I say worse? I meant funnier. Here's more. Simmons then returned to work 2 days later, showed up for his shift. Needless to say, he was promptly arrested. 33 years old, Keondra taken into custody in a parking lot of the Shake Shack near Scottsdale and Greenway Road, the same location where police say he robbed two co-workers at gunpoint 2 days before. He's accused of locking the employee in the cooler, taking and destroying their cell phones, and then destroying the store's landline phone, apparently believing that if you smash enough phones, law enforcement just ceases to exist. If there's no more, you'd have a phone, there's no cops. You ever watch the crime show The First 48? Forensic Files, any one of those great shows? I do a lot. You ask yourself how people can be that stupid. I mean, if at least some of them would watch a month or two of one of these shows, you might rethink your master plan here. But then again, I suppose you can't fix stupid. The would-be robber apparently was not very happy about being arrested when he showed up for his first appearance.
Please say your name and date of birth.
Keondra Simmons.
Police say this Phoenix man robbed his own workplace. Keondra Simmons accused of armed robbery and kidnapping, as investigators say he held two co-workers at gunpoint at this Scottsdale Shake Shack. He allegedly forced a manager to open the safe, took nearly $3,000 in cash, and then locked the victims in a cooler. Court paperwork says he then went on to destroy their phones and say the co-workers recognized his voice and knowledge of the store. Police arresting Simmons 2 days later when he showed up for his shift at the Shake Shack.
You are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime or have contact with the alleged victims, witnesses, or complainants. You may not possess any weapons, even simulated weapons, while this case is pending.
Simmons is now held on a $100,000 secured appearance bond.
You're not allowed to return? Duh. According to officials, Simmons allegedly confessed to the location of the handgun that he used during the robbery, and police recovered it. People, look, enjoy life. Touch grass. As the silly saying goes, don't be a Keondra, please. If you're going to rob your place of employment, might not be the worst idea to not show up for work next time you're scheduled. Stupidity, says Danny, but thankfully no one was hurt or worse. You got that right. Then she says, wait, who let them out of the freezer? I assume there must have been people that didn't get locked in the freezer. It doesn't say. Good question. We'll leave that as today's mystery. Man. All right, we're done. Thank you for popping by. Appreciate you being part of the show here. It really means a lot to us. Please follow on Rumble, subscribe over on YouTube, and be sure and pop by one of our sponsors. If you'd like to donate directly to the show, you can do that with our PayPal link. It's 100% secure. You can use your bank card, your bank account there, credit card, whatever it is, and make a donation to keep the lights on and keep us free. I appreciate y'all being out there, and I will see you all again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition. Don't get locked in a freezer.